Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing probably the most creative legend team that I've seen this entire season of Go Battle League. Now this team consists of a Rainy CASTFORM lead, Goodra as the save switch, either using Thunder Punch or Sludge Wave, and as the closer, Guzzlord. This team was created by Clunk_NZ, who was able to climb from Veteran all the way up to Re-Hit Legend in the Open Great League. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and I'm going to be testing out this team in the Open Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a good lead, CASTFORM into Diggersby. Opponent safe switches into Wigglytuff, and that is something that is absolutely terrible for this backline to deal with. So I'm definitely going to need to stay in here with the CASTFORM. They will go for the Swift, and I'm going to commit the shield, as CASTFORM does have the ability to win the one shield versus Wigglytuff. So either I'm going to be able to get rid of the Wigglytuff as they actually end up no shielding, or I can get all shields down. In comes Corsola. I don't want to concede a big farm down, so I'm going to pivot out into Goodra. Goodra can do okay against Corsola. It is able to win the 2 shield versus Corsola, so it does fine enough here. Nightshade is going to connect. And now I'm going to go for the Thunder Punch, as it does do more damage overall than Aqua Tail. Thunder Punch is going to be shielded. Opponent fires off their energy, and I think at this point, I'm just going to trust in Guzzlord, plus the move that I banked on Rainy CASTFORM to win this game. Rainy CASTFORM does have some pretty nice bulk to it overall. In comes the Guzzlord. Opponent is going to be switching out into Diggersby, and now I get to start launching these Brutal Swings. Brutal Swing, not the highest damage move ever, but in combination with the Dragon Tail, they are rapidly running out of HP. I'm going to fire off Brutal Swing number 2. Opponent is going to give up the shield. I throw 2 Dragon Tails, wait a turn, switch, and get the CMP sack swap. Not only do we catch the move, but we win CMP with ours. They're stuck going for a Scorching Sands against the CASTFORM that only has a few HP remaining. And with that CMP sack swap, this game is completely over. Scorching Sands will connect. Guzzlord gets the farm down. Back in comes Corsola, and it's all over in a blink of an eye. Brutal Swing KOs the Corsola, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading CASTFORM into Dugong. Considering there's 2 dragon types in the back, very nice to see the Dugong on the lead. CASTFORM plays a lot like Water Gun Lantern, but of course the big advantage is that you do not have the electric subtyping, and the electric subtyping often ends up being more of a hindrance in a meta that has a ton of ground types, or Pokemon that have ground type damage. Dugongs love to shield, so I'm able to successfully shield bait with the Weather Ball. Dugong not going to pick up the knockout. CASTFORM has some very nice bulk, able to make it to the Thunder, and now I get both shields, or I'm going to deal some serious damage and get a snipe with Goodra. Opponent is now going to bring in Galarian Corsola, and this, obviously, I would prefer to have a line onto the Guzzlord, but it's still very fine for Goodra. Goodra is up energy and up a shield, so things are looking quite good here. I go for the Aqua Tail, and the moment I do, I realize maybe I should double Thunder Punch here. I am going to farm up as much as I can and CMP tie, hoping that with all of those Dragon Breaths, Thunder Punch will be enough to KO. I think they might survive, but the opponent's not going to risk it, and now I have a choice to make. Do I protect the Goodra? I say no. In the back is going to be a Shadow Marowak, and now I get to respond with Guzzlord. Unfortunately, I get 1 turn Brain Lag when I bring in the Guzzlord, denying my sneak. That is really not ideal. I'm going to farm up, go for the Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing will inflict some solid damage, but of course I'm missing a Dragon Tail of damage. I switch into the CASTFORM just to get a couple Water Guns. Guzzlord gets the farm down. Can we get to the Brutal Swing? Yes, we can. So even though we did get a fast move denied in the endgame, Guzzlord with another clutch, able to take the win. Picking up a bad lead in the next match, CASTFORM into Ariados. I'm going to catch onto the Goodra, but I misclick. I tap just too low, so the catch does not go through. They land a Trailblaze, and now they're going to get to land a boosted lunge on the Goodra. If I got the catch, I was in a great spot. I would have had energy on CASTFORM, a ton of health, but now I'm just in a very negative position because I fat fingered it. I did not click where I was supposed to click to get the catch, and that's going to cost me quite dearly, as now my CASTFORM has unfortunately lost so much of its operating health. Can Goodra hang on here? A better Goodra could have got another move, but unfortunately I do not have one. And now with CASTFORM, I'm in a bit of trouble. I'm going to let this go. The Scorching Sands doesn't KO. Look at the bulk on CASTFORM. Even though I've brutally misplayed this game, CASTFORM still putting in the work. I send in the Guzzlord, and I'm going to need Guzzlord to try and 1v3 for me. They're going to go for the Scorching Sands. They're going to pivot into the Ariados with the understanding that they're going to get to apply a permanent debuff. Well, not a permanent debuff, but a debuff until I'm able to switch back into the CASTFORM and undo it. So I am going to commit the shield. Ariados firing off the lunge. That just does too much damage. And in the back is Feraligatr, and I have to make a prediction. I'm going to predict that they're going to CMP time me here, and they're going to overfarm by 1. So I'm just going to farm up a bunch, and they throw instantly. I didn't get the prediction right, and unfortunately, that's going to cost me the game as Ice Beam KOs, and CASTFORM gets farmed down as well. Tough lead in the next match, leading into a Superior, and I'm going to save switch into Goodra. Now, Clunk did mention that they alternated between sometimes running Aqua Tail Thunder Punch and sometimes running Sludge Wave. Sludge Wave obviously would be incredible here, as I could just pick up a clean one-hit KO. But unfortunately, this Goodra not running Sludge Wave, so I'm forced to settle for some pretty pathetic Thunder Punch damage. Frenzy Plant, I'm not going to be able to hang on, so I will commit the shield. And again, can't quite get the farm down, but I will be able to grab the shield back or just win switch. And winning switch with a CASTFORM Guzzlord core should put me in a pretty decent position. So I will commit the shield. They're going to go for the Frenzy Plant, and now they switch into Drapion. I bank a Thunder Punch for later, and the Drapions just get completely walled off by Guzzlord. Due to the Dark Dragon typing, they're not really able to do much of anything here. Crunch, Aqua Tail, neither move going to be hitting for anything other than resisted. I fire off the Brutal Swing, they're going to let that through, and the question is, what are they going to have in the back? Drapion has been KO'd, it's going to be Unova Stunfisk, and I will fire off the Brutal Swing. They now have the Mud Bomb, so the question is, when will they throw it? So I'm going to do 2, wait a turn, switch into the Goodra, and get a second CMP sack swap. We get the catch, win the CMP tie, and that's a devastating blow for my opponent. They're going to undercharge the Mud Bomb, get the Thundershock farm down, and this is still going to be a tricky game, but the fact that I got the CMP sack swap helps me out quite a bit. I bring in the Guzzlord, and now it's my opponent's turn to go for a catch. They catch the Brutal Swing onto Superior. I undercharge, but it will be enough to KO. And now here I see a pretty straightforward win condition, and that is to just bring in the CASTFORM. They're going to have to throw Discharge twice, as CASTFORM has some pretty nice bulk to it. I try and go for the Weather Ball, but unfortunately, I do not quite get that move. Discharge KOs, in comes the Guzzlord, getting the Dragon Tail farm down, and securing the win. Picking up a bit of a tricky lead in the next match leading into Malamar. Here you're just going to save switch into Goodra. Opponent is going to respond with Dugong. Dugong, definitely a good Pokemon to bait out, of course, because Guzzlord is not really going to want to see it. Thunder Punch is going to connect, and my opponent is just going to immediately undertap the Icy Wind. Icy Wind is going to leave me at 1 HP and set up a farm down for my opponent, but speaking of farm downs, I have an idea. I'm just going to fully farm all the way down with the CASTFORM, and CASTFORM's energy will honestly put in some pretty nice work against Malamar. So I get the full farm down, very close to back-to-back Weather Balls, because I just want to grab a shield from my opponent before I switch into the Guzzlord, because they can very easily fire off a superpower to get the shield back, but that'll give me an energy advantage for the endgame. So I send in the Guzzlord, get the 2 Dragon Tail head start, and now I'll shield up the superpower. Opponent baits with a foul play in the back is going to be Shadow Marowak, and this is going to be a very difficult game to win. Shadow Marowak, Brutal Swing, going to do some okay damage here, but not enough to set up a farm down. That's where having Crunch would be nice, but of course, I'm just running the moveset that I already had on the Guzzlord. This ends up being a CMP tie, but they have 2 moves loaded. I decide to shield up here, and I think this is just a strict misplay on my part, because of course, Superpower will do more than a Bone Club. I'm not able to get the snipe down, and I just have no residual energy, which means Malamar is going to outpace. So honestly, I feel like both the losses with this team so far, if I played better, they could have been wins, but unfortunately, I did not. For the remainder of these battles, I did make a slight alteration to the team, putting Shadow Latios instead of Goodra. This definitely just makes the team worse. The Goodra variant is a lot better. However, I just like Shadow Latios as a Pokemon and wanted to run it for a few games. So here, obviously picked up a great lead, leading into the Shadow Marowak with the Rainy CASTFORM. They save switch Drapion, and Drapion just gets absolutely deleted by Guzzlord. Brutal Swing connects, And of course that does not knock out, but that's going to set up a nice farm down for the Guzzlord, and I exit with a Brutal Swing loaded. So I get some valuable damage on the Marowak as it re-enters the field of play. Brutal Swing is going to connect. Back in comes Rainy CASTFORM. Rainy CASTFORM will get outpaced here, but a Bone Club is not particularly threatening. Again, it's a pure water type. So Bone Club is going to land. In the back is Annihilate, and this is a situation where having a Dragon Psychic type is a definite plus. Goodra would still do fine here up a shield, like this would still be a winning endgame, but with the Shadow Latios, this is going to be an even easier win, as now I just get to farm all the way down with the Latios. Opponent does get the damage registration error to make it to a last Rage Fist, but with 2 shields available, it's just not going to matter. In comes the Marowak. Back-to-back Dragon Claws are reached, so I get to fire off Dragon Claw number 1, grab the shield, and then I maybe could have done 2 in the move there, but since I already had it, figured may as well do 1 in the move, knock out the Marowak, and secure the win. Bad lead in the next match, leading into Superior, the safe switch into Latios. Opponent responds with Goodra, and I will be able to grab a shield in this matchup. If they're running the standard Goodra moveset, then their energy is very threatening to the CASTFORM. They can hit for super effective damage with Thunder Punch, but their energy is completely walled by the Guzzlord. So even though I need Guzzlord to sweep this game, I'm actually bringing in the Guzzlord. So that way, if for whatever reason the Guzzlord ends up being a core breaker, then hopefully I can get use out of a full health Rainy CASTFORM later on. And it looks like the Guzzlord is a core breaker. They're sending in Superior. I'm shielding up, as even a Frenzy Plant would add up. And now I overfarm as much as I'm able to, and I'm full sending a Sludge Bomb here. A Dragon Claw or a Crunch would not KO, but a Sludge Bomb definitely will. It's more Pekko in the back. And this game is just over. Guzzlord being an amazing end game core breaker. I'm farming up, trying for the catch. Catch didn't go through there, but I still should just have the game won, as I can shield up with the Guzzlord. Guzzlord is only 1 away from the Brutal Swing. That was a crazy camera angle there for a minute. Guzzlord, a massive Pokemon. And then we can just snipe with a Water Gun from CASTFORM and secure the win. Tough lead in the next match, leading into a Galarian Corsola, and this is why the Goodra variant of the team, the original version of the team, is way better. Because if you see a Corsola lead, you can just save switch into Goodra, and Goodra wins the 2 straight Aqua Tail. Whereas since I have a Shadow Latios, I am very weak to a Galarian Corsola lead. Here, I'm going to fire off another Weather Ball. This is going to be getting them pretty low, although unfortunately they can just farm me down here. Opponent is going to pivot out into Drifblim, so they are running ABA Ghost. I get to respond with the Guzzlord, but unfortunately I was slow on the switch in, and that means they get to apply an Icy Wind debuff before I'm able to land the Brutal Swing. And that is actually going to matter, as that means they can now live the Dragon Tails, KO me with an Icy Wind, and I think they're healthy enough that if I try and snipe with Dragon Breath, I'm going to take an Astonish, and I do take an Astonish. Oh my goodness. If I had Goodra in this game, I would have been in a significantly better position. I could have switched out, I could have saved that Rainy CASTFORM, but unfortunately, I decided to get a little fancy with it, and as a result, I am now going to be in a pretty difficult spot. In comes Annihilate. This is a spot where the Shadow Latios actually does very, very well, of course, due to the Psychic subtyping, but this is still not going to be a game that I'm going to be able to win. If I did have that Goodra and I was able to switch that into the Corsola, I think I would have had a better chance, but here I can get them very close to getting farmed down, but it's just not quite enough. Bad lead, leading into more Pekko. I'm going to save switch into the Shadow Latios, and the opponent is going to stay into Psychic Fangs before they switch out. Psychic Fangs buys them a moment to review their options. In comes Galarian Moltres, and look at the Sucker Punches go. Oh my goodness. Galarian Moltres still takes some pretty substantial damage, and now I can bring in the Rainy CASTFORM. Odds are they're full sending a Brave Bird here. Brave Bird is survivable by Rainy CASTFORM, but realistically, I just don't want to take a lot of damage on this Pokemon. They send in more Pekko, I get to bring in the Guzzlord, and the Dragon Tail goes through. That Dragon Tail won't knock out, but it is going to put them basically into Water Gun farm down range. In the back is Talonflame and Guzzlord, core breaker extraordinaire. The Guzzlord Rainy CASTFORM pairing is just a truly brilliant team design here by Clunk. Again, I have kind of messed it up by switching to Shadow Latios for a few games. The origin of running Shadow Latios instead was I was actually doing a sub-lock challenge with Inadequates, and unfortunately Goodra was banned, so that's why I did end up having to use Latios for a few games. We pick up a great lead, leading CASTFORM into Diggersby, and you might be used to, as the Diggersby, seeing a water electric mon and seeing, oh, I can hit for super effective. But even though we have the water electric coverage, again, we're only a pure water type. So Scorching Sands, look at that. CASTFORM completely unbothered. CASTFORM gets to fire off another Weather Ball, and Diggersby, they're just getting knocked out here unless they give up a shield. They do just that, and I'm very okay letting this go. And then I'm gonna send in the Shadow Latios, because I want to try and get an energy advantage to cover for if they have something in the back that would be problematic, but they don't. It's going to be a Feraligatr. Feraligatr's forced to give up the final shield as Shadow Dragonclaw hits very hard. There's the switch to Guzzlord. It's Ariados in the back, and up energy. I'm in a honestly terrific position here. I get to fire off the Brutal Swing. Ariados will get to fire off a lunge. I do survive a lunge, but I don't really want to take that damage, so I am going to commit the shield. Guzzlord, I try for the farm down. I'm not going to get it, but I realize that I'm just fine here. I can survive the lunge. Shadow Ice Beam would still do more. They will fire off a move. I can commit the shield. I'm double debuffed here, but even so, a Sludge Bomb will add up. So I will go for the Sludge Bomb. It's not going to KO because, of course, non-stab and double debuff, but I can switch into the Latios, snipe down, and take the win. And hopping into the final match, going up against a pretty formidable opponent, and it's a terrible lead. CASTFORM catching Superior. The safe switch to Shadow Latios answered with a Shadow Drapion, and this is not an answer to Shadow Latios. Shadow Latios is going to shield up the Aqua Tail bait, but even with a bait, my opponent will not be able to land a crunch in this matchup. Shadow Latios is going to grab a shield from the opponent. I am going to double shield and just fully farm down, because I need switch advantage. If I can put the Superior on the Guzzlord, which I'm going to be able to do, I'll be in a pretty nice position. Back in comes the Superior. Shadow Latios going for the Luster Purge. Do they respect it? They do not. They get KO'd. It's going to be Charjabug in the endgame. I get to bank a move on the Latios and send in CASTFORM. CASTFORM, this is a CMP tie Weather Ball to the discharge. Weather Ball is going to pick up the knockout here just about, unless they commit the shield. They will commit the shield, but I have the move on Latios, so they won't even get to see the third, but I lag by a turn and the move doesn't show up. I still win the game, but man, Niantic fixed the game. It's incredibly frustrating. Oh, and I forgot for this final game, the Guzzlord ended up getting banned in the Nuzlocke as well, so I was forced to use Zweilous there. As I mentioned at the start, I think Clunk's Legend team, or the team that he reclimbed to hit Legend with, to be more accurate, is one of the most creative ones I've seen this entire season. I haven't seen a soul use Rainy CASTFORM. So Rainy CASTFORM pairing up with Goodra and Guzzlord, two anti-meta Pokemon as well, and climbing, I believe it was from Veteran back to Legend with it, is an unbelievable accomplishment. So big congratulations to Clunk_NZ. If you're wanting to try the team yourself, definitely run his version that has Goodra. My reason for running the Shadow Latios was in the Nuzlocke that Inadequates and I were doing. Unfortunately, Goodra got banned, so I was not allowed to use it for the remainder of the stream, so I had to make a pivot over to the Shadow Latios, and then eventually over to Zweilous when Guzzlord got banned. But yes, I would definitely, if you're going to try the team, run his version with Goodra, and if you see Corsola lead, you can safe switch into the Goodra, safe in the knowledge that if you go straight Aqua Tail and throw on good timing, you are able to win the twos. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is genuinely so appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I'm in HomeSliceHenry.